do the countdown here. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wellness Revolution with Dr. Robert Wiedemann. You can check out Dr. Robert Wiedemann at healthreform90@gmail.com or text or call him at 406-270-3754. But before we do that, Doc, I just want to let people know we have a special contest for people tonight. That means anybody in the New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware area, if you contact me through gdpent1@yahoo.com, I'll put it up here, you will be able to win a pair of tickets to the Bristol Riverside Theater. I'll put it up later. You'll see it. And these tickets are exclusive to us at Hamilton Radio, and we're making them available for you on Doc's show tonight because we just received them. And you'll be able to fill a form out and see what show you want to see. But this is the Bristol Riverside Theater outside of Columbus, New Jersey, which is only about 15 minutes from me. And this is quite interesting. So welcome to our new sponsor, Bristol Riverside Theater. Go ahead, Doc.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just checking out something here, Doc G.
No problem.
Sure that, it's not found. Sure, tiny URL's not working here. Oh, I know what it is. I know what the deal is. Here we go. Just checking this out. Make sure our link is working. There we go. Okay. So, okay, Doc, one of the things I haven't solved yet is our website. So let me type in here what you need to get to.
Hey, River Life, how you doing? Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. River Life is here. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. There you go. Put that up there. So if people, it's tinyurl.com / and you're going to capitalize the first letter of these words, Doc's Minerals. So capital DOCS, capital MINERALS. So tinyurl.com / Doc's Minerals. And you can get to our website, and we will be watching that. I'll be watching my text messages and my email. The first 3 people that enroll with Longevity will get free tickets for that, right?
Exactly.
So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, that's 3 pair. Now that's each one has 2 people, so 3 pair
of tickets. Pair of tickets, yeah. So if you want to go on a date with your wife or your loved one, and you enroll, you'll get 2 tickets. So tonight we want to just spend the first few minutes in kind of a moment of silence or a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family. I don't know of anybody in the nation that this hasn't affected. And there are some people out there that are being very rude about this to his family. And what is it? Several people have been fired over the comments they've made. I don't understand where this liberal thought comes from. Making comments about Charlie Kirk and his family. How heartbreaking to have a husband who is standing up for Christ and for what's right in this country, and so forth. You, Doc G, you live out there you're in Trenton, right?
Trenton, New Jersey. Yeah.
That's a very historic place. In the beginnings of our country, we're Judeo-Christian, and we have a system of government that's based upon that. And it doesn't do any good to have a government like that if our country isn't like that. And Charlie Kirk did I've had people that I've talked to for years. One guy said the other day on the phone, I didn't need to start reading the Bible, and he's into it now. I think he went to Walmart and picked himself up a King James version of the Bible because that's what Charlie Kirk recommended, and started reading it. And by golly, it's making changes in his life. And really, you stop and think about this. That affects all of our lives. God is really in charge of. God is really the only one that heals. Remember my saying that of all those that claim to heal, only three can tell the truth, and that's the butcher, the tanner, and the tobacco farmer. Well, I'm going to throw God in there because God really does heal. God alone is the one who heals. They say that God gets them well, and doctor takes the credit. Because really, I don't care what healthcare practitioner you go to. If it wasn't for God giving us life, none of us would be well.
That's true.
And so really, of all the things that we promote on this website, God expects us to think of our fellow man. That's why we're on here. We're thinking of our fellow man, and we're thinking of those that that are trying to do what's right, and so forth. Healing is very, very much in a part of our religion. Of being close to God. Jesus' biggest part of his ministry was healing. So we're just kind of having a moment of silence here, Marvin, for Charlie Kirk, tonight. And I think let's say a prayer right now. Heavenly Father, we just come before you this evening in sorrow over what's happened to the Kirk family. We lift up his precious wife and his children, dear Father. I pray that you'd send your angels to surround them, comfort them, wrap your arms of love around them, dear Father, and provide for them. And I pray that Charlie's work may continue to go on, and that we may be a part of that as well. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Marvin, a good friend of mine that's out in your area, Doc G, is Dr. Jeremy Barone. Put some pictures online. He was Charlie Kirk was a patient of his and a very good friend of his. Okay. Spent quite a bit of time in his clinic, really, advocating NUCA, NUCA chiropractic.
Mm-hmm.
So, I thought about having some pictures like that on tonight. So with that, let's continue on. I had last time what we did is we covered the prostate gland, and I thought perhaps that maybe we should talk about tonight about the women's reproduction tonight. And Marvin, I'm going to ask you a question. What is the uterus for?
Well, the uterus is basically vaginal canal. Okay. And so you've got, that's basically where you deposit the sperm. And the sperm actually, if the sperm is healthy, it will actually swim up into the fallopian tubes. And so a woman will actually, when she ovulates, one side 1 month and one side the next month, right?
Right.
And so that's something that a lot of ladies don't understand. My wife and I, we actually kind of take a rabbit trail here. We went through some infertility clinics when we were trying to get pregnant with our second child. And so we thought it was my wife's situation, but she came out just fine. But it turns out that I had a 0 fertility score. Well, what they discovered was what made my 0 fertility score was that the sperm was not swimming, even though the sperm was there. And there's a specific mineral required in order for that sperm to be able to be mobile. And that is, Dr. Wallach told me, he said, look, Marvin, says, this is what you need to do. Take some additional to the basic 90 nutrients, some additional Longevity Ultimate Selenium. Now, in the Ultimate Selenium, there's certain minerals in there that specifically help support and promote healthy sperm mobility. And so that was just incredible. Something else that the ladies may want to consider, especially if you have issues with infertility, is that a lot of times the fallopian tubes get clogged up with mucus. And so, if you want to make sure that you have a healthy passageway for the sperm to fertilize the egg, you want to go in and ask your doctor to do what we call a tube flush, a fallopian tube flush. And they go in through the uterus, and what they do is they actually flush out on any mucus or mucus buildup in those fallopian tubes, make sure that there's clear passage for the sperm to get to the egg. And so when we were at University of Utah, that's some of the questions I asked the infertility doctors, and it was kind of funny because this infertility doctors had 4 interns. So there's 4 of these young ladies sitting there, observing the doctor and my wife and I. So we had some very adult conversations. It was kind of funny to see the look on these interns. So I asked the doctor, so look, so how long does it take for the sperm to get to the egg? He says, well, from our research shows anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. It's all it takes for the sperm to get to the egg. And so then what's interesting is that he also said that the man determines because with each deposit of sperm, there's female sperm and there's male sperm. So the male sperm fertilizes the egg, you have a male child. If the female sperm fertilizes the egg, you have a female child. And so, but what they found out is there's a lot more female sperm than male sperm, but the male sperm actually swims faster. It's more aggressive swimmer. And so what they have discovered is from research, infertility research, the doctors at University of Utah told us these are the positions that are the most highly likely to achieve conception. And so they showed 2 different positions, and that was pretty interesting because if you think about it, one of those positions is what you see in nature, animals, okay? And so, just adult conversation here. So when you see an animal, a male breed a female in the animal kingdom, they always do it one position. And that is one of the positions that is highest percentage of chance of conception, because when you deposit the sperm at that position, it increases the chance of fertilizing the egg. And I can't remember what the percentage of increased chance that is, but the other thing they told us, that's also the position that you want to use or practice in if you want to increase the chance of having a male baby, a baby boy. Yeah. And what's interesting is this, all these young childless couples we've been working with, when we teach them these things that what we were taught from the University of Utah Infertility Clinic, 80% or more of those couples who get pregnant have baby boys.
Yeah. Well, my understanding is that what I was taught in chiropractic college was that male sperm are faster, but they don't swim as far. They wear out faster. And the women have the female sperm tend to have more endurance and can last longer. So that's why those positions make a difference. So anyway, but now, one of the things that we also want to talk about tonight is what things could, in terms of nutrition or things like that, could prevent the buildup of mucus in the fallopian tubes.
Well, Dr. Wiedemann, that's something Dr. Wallach never was able to give me a good answer on that. But one of the things that if you're taking the basic 90 nutrients, okay, the minerals that you're taking helps pull out these heavy metals and toxins and all the waste in your body that needs to be removed. So I always would say, Dr. Wallach always said this. He said, Marvin says, if you want to work with the childless couples, always encourage them to be on the basic 90 nutrients for at least 6 months to a year before they start their families.
Yeah.
The ladies who do that, we have seen tremendous success with their healthy pregnancies. The biggest challenge a lot of women have, especially when they get into 30s and early 40s, is that they fall into the category of high risk pregnancy. And of course, Dr. Wallach says no, it's not the age that causes high risk pregnancy. It's because it's a lack of nutrition, or the female organs are actually not as the vitality of the female organs is not there like it used to be in the 20s. So this is the numbers they gave us at Utah University, University of Utah, and it said per ovulation, if you try to plan a family, you have between 12 and 15% chance of conception per ovulation in the 20s. That's going to be reduced down to 8 to 10% in the 30s. In the 40s, it drops down to 3 to 5%. And the reason it drops down is because it has nothing to do with the vitality of the sperm. It has all to do with the membrane that surrounds the egg. So the sperm has to penetrate that membrane in order to fertilize the egg. The older, as the female gets into the 30s, that membrane is more difficult to penetrate. So there is a product.
It's called a zygote, by the way. The unfertilized egg is actually called the zygote. I think is it before it's fertilized or after? It's called a zygote.
As after fertilization is zygote.
Okay.
But before fertilization, that egg has like a little soft jelly membrane. And in the 20s, teens and 20s, that membrane is very easy to penetrate. Now, what they do, a lot of these infertility clinics, they use a hamster egg to simulate the penetration of sperm into the female egg, and they use the male sperm to see how successful male sperm human sperm. They determine to see how successful human sperm can penetrate a hamster egg. So that's kind of what they do at these infertility clinics. They determine if the egg from mom is healthy enough for the sperm to penetrate. Now, one thing I learned from the Japanese ladies, they're more naturally minded than we here in America are. And so what they have done, and they've learned that if you support and promote the pituitary gland stimulates the human growth hormone. And the human growth hormone supports, if you have increased human growth hormone production, it also increases the chance of conception. In other words, it decreases the infertility percentage of infertility problems, and that's because the female egg, the egg from a female, that membrane is much easier to penetrate. So what they're doing is they're getting a lot of these Japanese ladies. They have a career, and they don't usually have a lot of the career ladies don't have kids until mid 30s, early 40s. Well, so to overcome that challenge of the sperm not being able to penetrate that membrane, is they support and promote a nutritional protocol, the basic 90 nutrients, an additional product to support and promote the pituitary gland. And that in itself stimulates the human growth hormone. So just for example, human growth hormone, you max out your human growth hormone production in the mid-20s. After that, it slowly starts to go downhill. So the less human growth hormone production you have being produced, it takes longer for your body to recover. For example, in your early 20s, after you finish a half a marathon, it may take you 1 or 2 days to recover. But if you finish a half a marathon in your early 30s, it's going to take you almost twice as long to recover, just because the human growth hormone is not as plentiful in the 30s as it is in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things here that we can work with, and just understanding the female reproductive system, how to connect those dots, how it relies to healthy nutrition is important. And so something else you may want to consider. Think of it this way: in third world countries, the leading cause of infertility is lack of nutrition, malnourishment. Women who are not eating healthy do not have a monthly cycle. And there's a lot of reports coming out of North Korea. A lot of those women in North Korea, because of poor diet, have lost their menstruation. They don't have it.
Sometimes they have, in order to find anything to eat, they have to go out and eat grass.
Mm-hmm.
Those poor people, and some of the Koreans that have come over to our country, uh, have been amazed at what just our military has to eat. The military is very well fed. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at a video about how they feed the West Pointers. They feed 3 or 4 thousand people per meal. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and the cooks are in there literally cooking all day. Tremendous amount of food going through there,
Yeah.
and but so. But anyway, a couple of things, other things I wanted to mention is that whereas a man produces sperm, just basically all the time, a woman, her eggs are there from birth, from her birth. So the eggs, the genetic material is actually from both sets of grandparents right there. So when you're impregnating your wife, you're actually getting the genetic material directly from her parents.
And
So
one thing, Dr. Wiedemann, that a lot of mothers do not understand is when you're developing that embryo, you're also developing the eggs for the life of that female embryo.
yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
And
I'm
that's
sorry.
what we want to understand, because during the first trimester, that's when the embryo is going to be developed. That's where all the organs, everything's in the uterus, female reproductive system is going to be developed. And that first trimester, if she's not getting enough nutrition, it greatly affects the genetic potential of her eggs, of her offspring.
Yeah,
And that
and,
is
and
so critical to understand. That's why Dr. Wallach emphasizes,
Mhm.
please, please, if you want to have healthy mineral babies, grandmas, if you're listening to me right now, please get your daughters and your granddaughters to understand this. Get them the basic 90 nutrients, even if you have to buy the products for them. And they may not taste good, but if you want to have healthy grandbabies and great grandbabies, 6 months to a year before conception, you have reduce the risk of these birth defects, premature babies, and all kinds of health issues down the road. And so, one of the things that in the agriculture industry, we use these minerals in animals, and so we use a lot of these minerals in puppies, puppy farms,
Yeah,
puppy breeders. We see the second and third generation of female dogs be so much healthier and better capable of producing a healthy litter of puppies. No runts, and no birth defects. It's true. The same thing holds true for humans.
yeah, yeah. And the thing is that think about your child growing up. The sex organs are developing as they're growing, and if you're adding minerals there, the uterus of the little girls and the prostate and
Dr. Wiedemann, you're
testicles that you're
breaking up
putting
for
in their
some reason.
diet,
Yeah.
holding from them. I mean, yeah, I can't help that. I'm just not. I don't know what to do about that because it might be because there's some storms here in the area. So we
Okay.
had some thunderstorms today. So, but
something
anyway,
else. Something else very critical. Zinc is a very important mineral for healthy conception. Matter of fact, uh, zinc is responsible for many nutritional deficiency diseases. And Dr. Wallach's book, Rarest Forbidden Cures, goes into great detail about the difference of the difference of these different birth defects because of lack of zinc. Now, if a mother is not getting enough zinc in her diet, which we get from the ultimate Young Jenny's Ultimate Selenium, she has increased risk of having a child born with Down syndrome. Within the first 48 hours of conception, that's when the brain is starting to be developed. And if there's not enough zinc there in the body for a healthy brain development, then you'll tend to see underdevelopment of the hypothalamus, and you'll tend to see high risk of Down syndrome. After the first trimester, if you have and a lot of times what they'll do is a lot of these young ladies will go in and they test for a Down syndrome baby. They test embryonic fluid. If they have a Down syndrome baby, a lot of times the medical doctors recommend an abortion.
but
After
Dr. Wallach has reversed some of those.
There's only one case we know of, and that was Evel Knievel's niece was expecting, and she was. They did embryonic fluid tests, and it came back positive for a high risk of Down syndrome baby. So, of course, Dr. Wallach got involved and said, well, the only thing we can do is give the mother all the 90 known essential nutrients, give them additional supplements with extra zinc in it, which we did. And by the time they got into the second and third trimester, there was the Down syndrome embryonic fluid came back negative. Now we've never had that happen in the second, third trimester, but only in the first trimester. Remember, the first trimester is when the embryo is being developed. So we don't have enough clinical studies to say this is what's happened, but we do have one clinical case, that the child was born normal because the mother did not want to abort the child, which we will give her credit to.
No. Well, it's interesting that Roy Rogers and Dale Evans' child was a Down. Robin was her name. She was Down syndrome, and as a result of that burn, she died after like 3 months or something like that. And so Dale Evans wrote the book Angel Unawares, and the absolute influence that that child had on their lives, and Roy Rogers and Dale Evans were good Christian people, and. But anyway, if you're taking the minerals and vitamins ahead of the pregnancy, 6 months ahead of time, you're not going to run into those difficulties as a result of that. Of course, we haven't done any clinical studies on that, but if you can turn around a potential Down syndrome child into a normal child in the first trimester. With supplementation, what's going to happen if you're even previous to that? And I think your two children are a good testimony to following Dr. Wallach's advice.
Well, I want to say I'm blessed. My wife and I, we have both of our children in our early 40s, and I'm blessed to inform you that both of our children are mineral babies. Their athletic performance is above and beyond any of their peers. The endurance level, incredible. And the reason, one of the things, endurance is based on the body's ability to carry oxygen through the extremities, the limbs and legs and things like that. Mm-hmm. So if you are eating these inflammatory foods, your endurance level is going to be greatly reduced because restricted blood flow.
Yeah, right.
And so you're going to see that even in the embryonic development here. When the mother is actually supplementing properly, and this is what we do, when we have expecting a nursing mother, we always add an extra ounce of plant minerals to her basic 90 nutrients of body weight, always add an extra ounce of calcium. That's the young Jody calcium, which is properly formulated with all its cofactors to the additional calcium that she normally takes. And so that extra ounce of minerals, extra ounce of calcium is so critical for the mom and baby. And this is why. Because when mom is expecting, the first nutrients always goes to the embryo before mom gets any. So we want to make sure mom is healthy enough to carry that baby full term.
Right.
If mom is not getting enough nutrients, she will not be able to carry that baby full term. A lot of times they go into spotting or they go into premature labor, and the doctors have no choice but to put that mom on bed rest until the baby's delivered, or until at least within 2 to 3 weeks of delivery date.
Well, you got to realize that the uterus is a muscle, basically. And if that muscle is, lacking nutrients, it's not going to be as strong. I believe that, it makes a difference in your strength to have all 90 essential nutrients. It's not just all protein. It has to have all the supportive minerals, all 77 of them, or all 70 of them, 60 minerals, 60 essential minerals, and 17 beneficial ones.
60 minerals, 12 amino acids, 16 vitamins, and two of the three essential fatty acids makes up the basic 90. Now, right. In the last trimester, if you really want to get through this pregnancy without having all the excess weight, burden of excess weight and back spasm, things like that, we recommend that the mother goes on the additional products to support healthy bones and joints. And not only does the mother benefit from that, but the embryo benefits greatly from that, because that embryo is going to have that musculoskeletal. It's going to grow a lot in the third trimester.
Right.
And so if you add the bone and joint protocol to the basic 90 nutrients, in addition to that 1 ounce of minerals, 1 ounce of calcium, you're going to have a very strong musculoskeletal baby. And that is, you can't, I can't begin to explain to you. A lot of you ladies out there who have given childbirth, you will notice that typically a brand new infant born, the first day, he cannot lift his head up. It's, you have to hold its head so you don't, fall back, whatever. When you nurse the baby, you got to support that head. And typically that's for the first week to 10 days. But also, too, is that I have seen mineral babies that were able to lift their head up the first day. The other thing, too, is my son Eli, when we got him circumcised, and typically when they circumcise the little boys, they put a little cap on the tip of the penis, and that protects that skin until it heals. That takes anywhere from 10 to 12 days for that to fall off. Well, his fell off in 4 days. And the doctors were amazed. I said, "Oh, is that good or bad?" "Oh, that's good. That means that he has incredible rejuvenative restoration capability."
Yeah.
It means, in other words, he heals quickly.
Yeah, he can rejuvenate very quickly.
Exactly. And so his foreskin healed in about a third of the time that it would normally, because
Well,
mom.
that's Marvin. That's the third sign of life is adaptability. It's one of the most important signs of life is adaptability, and your adaptability is what increases. It's also what increases when you get an adjustment. So the two things you can do to increase your adaptability is remove nerve interference, balance your spine, and take all your nutrients. Those two things make a tremendous difference in your entire life.
What's funny is this, Dr. Wiedemann, when my wife gave birth to both of our children, we had the same midwife and the same OBGYN. And so they were specifically excited about her after birth. And I said, "Well, why?" Because she said, "This is one of the healthiest afterbirth we've ever seen."
Now, let me ask you this: Did you cut the cord right away, or did you let it stop?
Well, that's before we knew anything about, timing the cord cutting. So they brought the baby out, and I think the cord, it was a couple of minutes before the cord was cut, because they had the baby laying on a kind of like, they were swaddling it, and then they cut the cord. But I would say by the time the nurse got the cord cut, it was a couple of minutes. Now,
Yeah.
I have learned since then that the longer you wait to cut that cord, the better, because that baby.
Actually, what works really well is to lay the baby on the mother and let them nurse right away. Then they get that healthy colostrum from the breast. It's the first 15 minutes. So once the baby's born, you lay the baby on the mother's stomach and let them nurse. And the nursing is what stops the cord. It also allows that hole in the heart to shift over, so that you don't have a heart murmur. See, so the baby is nursing right there, stops the cord from beating because the hole in the heart seals off. Okay, so and here's something else. The difference between a vaginal birth and a C-section. When the baby comes out of the birth canal, they want to lift the head up, and it forces the cervical curve to start forming. And then when they come out, the lower parts of them comes out, the lumbar also extends and starts the lumbar curve. Because otherwise it's just a big C. And if you've ever seen a video of like a 5 or 10 week old, they actually have videos in utero videos of these little kids moving around. They move around clear from very, very early. And this is why most abortions take place around the 22nd week, or 12th week or something like that. I think it's 22nd week. Those kids are feeling pain by that time. So when they reach up there and they pull, what they do is they pull the limbs off. That child can feel that. You're murdering a child when they do that. They're literally drawing and quartering them, which is a terrible death. So and then they crush the skull. And the thing with it is that a child is a wonderful, wonderful thing. You stop and think about when does that life begin? It begins at the union of the sperm and the ovum. They've actually seen a spark take place at that point. That's when the breath of life of God goes into them. Right then, that's what causes those cells to divide. That's what causes them to start and just just to study in chiropractic college. Where the first thing we studied before anything else was embryology. Now, at that time, I hadn't had a lot of structure and function. I hadn't had a lot of anatomy, so it's kind of a struggle to start there. But by doing that, we understand the integration of the different parts of the body better. We find out how the spine is formed and how the first thing to appear is actually the brain and spinal cord. Before anything else. And then the vertebrae form. They surround the skull forms around the brain. The vertebrae start forming around the spinal cord. The nerves pass out into the tissues, and the nervous system is actually what directs everything coming together. So if you have interference, you can see how the organs are adversely affected. If those nerves are a part of the formation of the fetus, basically the nervous system is the director of everything. Then how important is it later in life? And by taking the nutrients, you are actually supporting the nervous system. You're supporting the musculoskeletal system. You're really supporting everything. So and the question is that for myself, I've thought about, do I ever want to quit taking the nutrients? And the answer is no. There isn't a time when I ever want to stop taking the nutrients. So
something else that I want to just bring up: if you observe cats and dogs and animals in the wild give birth, you have very little of any blood being passed when that embryo is passed from animals.
Right.
And that tells you have a healthy birth. For humans, you have a lot of blood that comes with the birth of a baby, and that's because of hemorrhaging, and that's because the mother is not getting enough certain nutrients to support promote healthy blood vessels. In other words, if you are hemorrhaging, if you don't get enough certain minerals, you're going to be high risk of hemorrhaging. And so
here's something else. In Western society, they have turned something natural into an operation. My dad said that when they were down in the Philippines, he was raised in the Philippines because my grandfather was a Christian missionary down there, and he said the Filipino ladies didn't generally need any help. They would squat down in the bushes and have the child squatting. And in Israel they used to have birthing stools. This is in Egypt. It talks about the ladies that help with childbirth. They would Pharaoh wanted them to kill all the men, all the children, wanted to throw them in the basically, if he knew anything about, if they had technology like that back then, he'd have made them abort them. But the thing of it is that they had birthing stools, and they said, well, by the time the Israelites are not like the Egyptians. By the time we get there, they're very lively and they don't they're already born by the time we get there. So which either they were fibbing or they were telling the truth. That if you have a birthing stool and you're sitting in a seated position in squatting while you're giving birth, it actually activates certain muscles and allows for easier birth.
Dr. Wiedemann, what's interesting is that we're in Vietnam in the 60s and 70s. One thing the GIs noticed that in Vietnam they have the women working the rice paddies. These expecting mothers would work in the rice paddies, and they would literally give birth to that child in that rice paddy as they were working. They drop that birth to that child and drop in the water. And the mom was prepared for this. She had a little swaddler, and she swaddled the baby up, put it on her back, and kept on working.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's just like, and that was what just freaked out these GIs. They had no idea that, man, they don't have any labor pains or nothing like that. No. And I had the chance of, when I was stationed in San Diego, chance to get to know the senior medical doctor at I want to say I can't remember which hospital it was up in Claremont Mesa. I want to say Sharp Memorial, something like that. I could be wrong. Don't correct me, but it's up in Claremont Mesa. He was a senior medical doctor up there, but he told me, he says, "Yep, I see all these." That's back in the '80s. All these Oriental ladies come over. The first and second pregnancy here in America, they had no issues with labor. But by the time of the third or fourth one, they had all kinds of issues. They were Americanized and they were screaming and hollering just like the white girls were, and they're cussing up a storm.
Yeah. See, here's what the problem in America is. These medical doctors want to do it on their own time. You know, they want to. They want to schedule a birth. Well, you're going to have it by then. We'll induce you otherwise. So they give them oxytocin and stuff like that, so that they can do it when they want to instead of when the body's ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that is that they'll drag them out of the womb with forceps, or what they did to my youngest son was put a suction cup on his head. Now, I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know, had never heard of something like that. Or I'd have told the doctor, I don't want that on there. But
it's amazing. It's what you see at these childbirths. I mean, when I first saw them go in and take a little tiny screw about this long, and had a little Dremel tool with a Phillips screwdriver, and he drilled a hole a little just in the skull, in the baby's skull, attached a wire to the skull by a little tiny screw.
Who did this?
The doctor did. OB/GYN did. I saw them do that with my firstborn.
Wow.
And I said, well, why did you do that? Oh, that's how we can monitor the heartbeat and the brain waves, all that stuff. They attached just enough to get it into the skull. And that's the electrodes or the wires that were sticking out. And yeah, it was like, I have never seen it. Well, yeah, it was just a normal thing. And so that was my first experience seeing my oldest daughter being delivered at La Jolla Scripps Memorial Hospital. I was like, holy smokes, I was not prepared for this.
Wow.
I was not prepared for that. And so, but baby came out normal, just fine. And I did not know they were going to take a little tiny screws and just attach those wires on the forehead.
That would be the frontal fontanelle is what they call it. Or there's fontanelles is where these holes in the skull where the baby, the soft spot before it solidifies,
Well, it's just real tiny screws. They were probably an 1/8 of an inch long or less, and they just stuck right to the forehead.
Wow.
I mean, just like you can take a stapler and, I could do this. I could take this stapler and put a staple on my forehead and sticks in my skull. I've seen guys do it. It's not going to kill you.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not going to do that right now. Okay. But that's basically the same concept is what these doctors do. So, ladies, if you don't want your newborns to be drilled and tapped by the doctor, get with a midwife that does natural childbirth at home. That's okay.
Yeah. My son had all 4 of his children at home, and they had a very easy delivery. It was in a pool, and the most difficult one was the first one. In fact, he had to end up being hospitalized for some reason, but the other 3, I mean, it was just as easy. And Barb, his wife, is such a wonderful wife of his, very supportive of natural stuff, and so forth. So, I mean, the thing is, the more natural you can go, the better off you are because you're doing it God's way.
Exactly. Now, some of you ladies out there, you have no choice but to go back to work. If you can take maternity leave, take maternity leave as long as you possibly can and nurse that baby. And if you have issues with nursing, it's because you're not getting enough nutrition. A lot of ladies want to nurse and their breast milk dries up within 2 to 3 months. Well, you can go back to work and still nurse your baby, or you just have to pump the breast milk. And there's all kinds of instruments out there to pump your breast milk and leave the breast milk with the babysitter and make sure it gets mom's breast milk. And that is the healthiest way to support and promote a young child. And so nursing is nothing wrong with nursing. A lot more women are nursing nowadays in public. It's okay with that, and it's natural. It's best for the baby. Matter of fact, a nursing baby has much better bridge development than non-nursing babies.
Yeah, their mouths will be wonderfully formed, and it'll actually affect the teeth also. The another thing is there's benefits to both the breasts and the uterus when a woman breastfeeds. It will pull the uterus back into shape.
Mm-hmm.
It will also help prevent breast cancer,
Mm-hmm.
because you're basically doing what it was designed for.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's so true. I've talked to a lot of ladies that tell me I had no idea as I'm nursing my baby after the first 3 or 4 weeks after delivery, they cannot believe the difference it makes in getting that uterus back to its normal shape.
mhm. Yeah.
It's critical, very
Now,
critical.
did you ever hear of Dr. Mendelsohn?
I have, but I'm not familiar with him enough to.
He was noted as the medical heretic. He's the one that said, if you see a medical doctor walking down the street, don't walk the other way, run.
Mhm.
And he said, basically, he talked about the fact that a woman has three aspects of sexual experience. One is with intercourse with her husband. One is with the birth of the child in a natural way, and the third is breastfeeding.
Mhm.
Those are the three sexual experiences that a wife has, and a medical doctor wants to take those things away. He wants to keep them from breastfeeding, and they want to. If you'll notice, they'll try to interfere with breastfeeding and interfere with the natural birth process if they can.
And
Now,
so this
that's not every doctor, but that's not every. Listen, I don't want to make blanket statements out here, because there are wonderful medical people out here who are really trying to do the right thing. Many have saved medical professions have saved thousands of lives, but problems have also occurred in the medical profession too. And it's just like you see in the political world. There's good guys and bad guys in all of them, and we're here to support all the good guys.
So one of the things, Dr. Wiedemann, is that ladies, your nutritional protocol, the same nutritional protocol for an expecting mother is going to be the same nutritional protocol for a nursing mother.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop nursing that baby and you put it on baby formula, you will not have near the ingredients in that baby formula as you would in your breast milk if you're taking the basic 90 nutrients. So what we do is this. We take the basic 90 nutrients. We take the Ultimate Liquid Classic, that's the Liquid Classic, 1 teaspoon of that to 20 pounds of body weight. So if your baby weighs 10 pounds, half a teaspoon a day.
Yeah.
Put that in the bottle of milk formula, and half a teaspoon, that says it's 10 pounds. So the cherry flavored minerals or the strawberry kiwi flavored minerals, 1/2 teaspoon of that because it's 10 pounds. And add it in with the Ultimate Liquid Classic. Same thing with the Beyond Osteo X.
Well, Marvin, if they're breastfeeding, what the mother takes is going to be influencing the milk.
The only thing that mom needs to give the baby if she's nursing is the essential fatty acids. That gel capsule has 1 gram of omega-3, 6, and 9. What you do is you take that gel capsule and you hold it with the finger and thumb, and the end of it, you take a pin and you poke the end, and you extend about 1/3 of that capsule out to where the baby's lips will touch that. It's kind of like the mom's nipple. And as mom puts that capsule in its baby's lips, he squeezes that liquid into baby's mouth. He does that. You teach that baby to take that liquid of essential fatty acids before you nurse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The reason why is because the essential fatty acids, when a mom takes an essential fatty acid, that essential fatty acid will no longer be traceable in the breast milk within 30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, one thing about it, it will also positively affect the nipple. When the baby has the essential fatty acid, it'll because nipples can get very sore at first. And if they have that essential fatty acids there, it will help that too.
Something else mothers suffer with when they first start nursing, they have the milk ducts clogged up. And so they have essentially what doctors, oh, you've got breast infection. No, it's just the breast filled up with milk and very sore, very tight. And all it is that these milk ducts get clogged up because they have not been working properly. So the turbo cream on top of those breasts will help increase circulation. And I'm not kidding you. My wife had this problem. And so we just, hey, let's just do the turbo cream. That's a CM cream, for bone and joint, basically it's for tissue stimulation, blood flow through the tissue stimulation. And we put that on there, and within 5 minutes, I'm not kidding you, there was a lot of milk rushing out of those nipples. It was
what you have is inflammation.
Yeah.
It's basically inflammation causing those ducts to close. And Marvin, I think the CM cream is one of the finest things you can have for it, because it just cuts inflammation so quickly. It's amazing.
And if that breast milk is in there for any length of time, it can't release, it'll eventually start to sour and it cause mastitis. Mastitis is chunky, cottage cheese-like stuff, and that's when you have problems. But if you catch that early on, once you have the baby and want to nurse, and those breasts are filling up, getting tight, then you got to relieve those duct milks, and that CM cream is a magic for that. So, ladies, have a couple of jars of CM cream handy on your delivery. Something else we want you to have one handy on your delivery table. And that is, when you go to the hospital, take with you a quart of the oxybody cherry berry. Yeah. That helps oxygenate the blood. And you take a couple ounces of that every couple hours. That gives you plenty of oxygen in your blood and keeps the baby's blood oxygenated. Very critical. The other thing, too, is the rebound. The rebound is you get packets of rebound powder and have a bottle of water and drink that rebound, slowly drink that rebound. That gives you plenty of energy. So when you dilate those 10 centimeters, you've got energy now to push and deliver that baby. A lot of women, they go into labor and they're too exhausted when they reach that 10 centimeters to deliver the baby. They're too exhausted to push. Yeah. So they're not able to get the baby delivered successfully. And that's because the mother's exhausted. The rebound really helps maintain that stamina. And if you have a mineral baby, your labor should be. I have ladies that were just phenomenal that tell me story after story. I was in labor with my first and second child for 10 to 12 hours, sometimes 15, 16-hour labor, delivered the baby. And I was just totally exhausted. When you take these supplements during your pregnancy, and you deliver that baby, typically the mothers tell me they deliver that baby with lot less complications within 2 or 3 hours. Mm-hmm. Easy. Sometimes it usually takes 30 minutes, and it just boom. They can't believe how simple it is. And so, if you're concerned about health insurance, you don't have health insurance or whatever, or you have a large deductible on your health insurance policy, one day early relieving from coming back from the hospital pays for all your nutritional protocol for that 9 months. Mm-hmm. One day. It costs over $1,500 to $2,000 a day just to be in a hospital bed. That's not all the other additional expenses. So if you can get out of the hospital 1 or 2 days earlier, that more than pays for the nutritional products you take during that 9 months of pregnancy.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Yeah.
Dr. Wiedemann, we cut a lot of. I can't believe it's almost an hour we've been talking about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just amazing.
Lots to discuss, about this kind of stuff, because, and here's something else. Before we go, I just want to say that one of the things that medical doctors love to do is hysterectomies. After you've, after a woman's had her children and so forth, sometimes these childbirths can be traumatic, and you can end up with things like endometriosis and things like that. If you stay on the 90 essential nutrients, you will help avoid some of that stuff. And then get on the Lydia Pinkham's, the Women's FX. Mm-hmm. I believe that every woman should be on Women's FX. They used to have Bust FX too for nursing mothers. I don't know if they have that anymore.
We have the same product. It's relabeled as Hormone FX, but they add some additional products in there to support and promote healthy hormone functions for women and their sex drive. Okay, and so the Hormone FX is a incredible product. These midwives I work with, they can't say there's nothing out there on the market come close to Hormone FX from Youngevity. With that said, I know we're getting close to closing time here, but we do need to take about another hour and expand this female reproductive system into perimenopause and menopause.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of health issues that develop if you're not taking the supplements correctly. I mean, good lands, I tell you what, when you get in a Bible study with some senior ladies, everybody has a little fan, and they're fanning themselves so the hot flashes every 10, 15 minutes. That's
Yeah.
not necessary.
Yeah.
We need to talk more about hot flashes in another segment, more about endometriosis in another segment. We need to talk more about, irregular monthly cycles and things like that. Now, I'm talking about, let me back up a little bit about irregular monthly cycles. I had some extreme cases of infertility. One of my worst cases was I had a young lady. She was in her mid-20s. She only had 2 cycles in her entire lifetime.
Wow.
2 cycles. And so I said, well, I says, I got Dr. Wallach on the phone. I said, well, this is how we address this. We want to nutrify the body and get the monthly cycles going. Now, we were not able to get a monthly cycle every 4 weeks, but we got it every 5 weeks. Okay. Every 5 weeks, she was releasing an egg and she was able to. So from that, she was able to conceive based on that because she got regular every 5 weeks. That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen, but they have 3 or 4 mineral babies now.
Wow.
Just from that. But her monthly cycle was not 28 days. Now, if you are a family planning, okay, and so a lot of you ladies are out there on the birth control pill, and that birth control pill is a hormone, how would you, disruptor. That's all it is. A birth control pill is a hormone disruptor. And if you truly want to have good, healthy, balanced hormones, you need to get off the birth control pill and let your body nutrify itself and heal itself from those chemicals and hormone disruptors, 6 months to a year before you even try to have a family. And you're going to feel so much better practicing natural birth control. So you're going to feel so much better if you're not on those birth control pills, because that's all those birth control pills do. They trick the body thinking you were expecting, so you don't have a. So the body thinks it's pregnant. It's not going to be conceived, and that's basically what the hormone.
Yeah. Well, basically, a lot of these things are what anytime you try to trick Mother Nature, you end up with other problems. And that's where a lot of these female hormonal problems end up from. This is why the tissues get affected. This is why you can end up with endometriosis or fibrosis. You can have fibrous tumors in the tissues because of the disrupting the hormones. I mean, there used to be an ad on TV about let's see, what it's some kind of fake butter, and there would be Mother Nature sitting there, and she said it's not nice to fool Mother Nature, and there'd be lightning and so forth. Well, it's true. It's not nice to fool Mother Nature, and you really can't fool Mother Nature. Because it just really, we're all connected to God. God's the one that directs and controls our bodies directly through the nervous system and so forth. So.
And there's no, I'm telling you here, I am the proud parent of 2 wonderful mineral babies, but I also am a proud nutritional coach of hundreds and hundreds of mineral babies that I've seen being delivered because these young ladies in their 20s and 30s decided to take Dr. Wallach's advice and supplement properly. I've seen mothers give birth to babies in the 40s that were healthier babies than in their 20s. And the grandfather, this one case, this grandfather came up to me in tears. He says, Marvin says, that child, my grandchild, which the 11th child born into that family, it's a large family, that was the healthiest grandchild I've had in all of my children. All of my children.
Wow.
And I want to say he was, at that time, that was about 15 years ago when he told me this. And I think at that time he had over 50 grandkids. And that mother could not afford the products, but there's a family in that community, Amish community, said, we want you to take this. And they took the products like Dr. Wallach recommended. As a result, they gave birth to a mineral baby in early 40s. And the grandfather told me, that's the healthiest baby of all my grandchildren. And the parents told me that baby is healthier than any of their babies in the 20s and 30s.
Well, Marvin, our time's up, but I just wanted to say in closing that for those of you that are listening out here, if you have loved ones that are having health problems, health issues, send them a copy of this video and have them listen, and maybe share with them the story, the longevity story, and the fact that they can actually, they can actually get some help here. So again, healthreform90@gmail.com. That's healthreform90@gmail.com. 406-270-3754, or tinyurl.com/capital D lowercase OCS capital M IMENERALS Docs Minerals. Okay, so thank you very much.
And we'll pick up this subject next week, and we want to kind of expand this on women going through perimenopause and menopause and all these side effects of pharmaceuticals of the female reproductive system, such as ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, breast cancer, and endometriosis, and the negative side effects of hysterectomies and things like that. So we need to kind of expand on that and talk more about ultrasounds and basically breast mammograms and things like that. We need to educate the young ladies that the dangers of all these certain things, the do's and don'ts about female health care, reproductive system, even after childbearing years.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Guys, what a great show. Let's reach out to everybody out here. Marvin, you don't know about it, but we have a new sponsor. They are Bristol Riverside Theater, right here. They are in Columbus, New Jersey, outside of Columbus, New Jersey. And this is for Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and also, I believe, other areas around us. They will get one pair of tickets if they sign up under longevity today. We will give them probably a day or two to do it. That's fine. But they need to get in contact with me or Doc at his email, healthreform90@gmail.com. All right, guys?
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody, for checking us out and listening to us. Hope you all have a great night.